kept driving straight until I reached the end of Chicago. At least, that's what it felt like. I wasn't from this place. But according to my GPS, I had reached Lake Michigan. It was very dark and the beach was closed. I drove through the little chain that was there to keep me out, and I didn't stop until the water came into view. I killed the engine and got out. The lake was breathtaking. A huge moon hung low in the sky, and thick clouds covered it, dimming its brightness just a bit. As far as the eye can see, there was water. This lake was so big one could almost pretend it's an ocean. I leaned against the bumper of my truck as the evening played itself back out before me. My pops had tried to sacrifice me to demons. My pops had given me to demons. Now so much stuff made sense. Growing up, there were no doors closed to me. For as long as I can remember, I had always been surrounded by powerful men, mayors, presidents, rulers of nations. I had every black fraternity in the country competing for my membership. This explains how I was able to come out of law school and into a partnership of a major law firm. Suddenly, all that disgusts me. Gifts from demons. I felt sick to my stomach, just thinking about how filthy it was. In fact, I was going to be sick. Quickly, I turned to the side of the truck and I threw up everything that was in my stomach. Just thinking about how close I had come to being lost forever. I reached again, dry heaving now. When I stood up, a dark figure leaning against my truck handed me a handkerchief, caused me to jump. Whoa! I balled my fists up, getting ready to throw a blow and try to break whoever this was face. But when I saw who it was, I dropped my hands. Good thing too. Had I thrown that blow, I'd probably be dead right now. Preacher. I reached for the handkerchief he gave me. How you feeling, son? I leaned back against the truck. Empty, man. I feel empty. He chuckled. I beg to differ. It seems to me that the vessel is now full. I looked out at the lake. Full of what? Your strong man, Solomon. Your vessel is full of your strong man, brother. Man, my dad tried to sacrifice me, I spat. He turned to look out at the lake. You know what I've come to realize over time about us men? I shook my head. We're vain. Vanity. You see, you take it upon yourself to speak of what almost happened instead of what happened. If you know and understand that everything that happens is Yah's will, who are you to change Him? If Yah willed it for you to be dead that night, then who are you to say no? Instead of thinking about what could have happened, learn how the Father works, and then humble yourself. You have to be okay with whatever the Father does, because who are you to say different? He chuckled. Resistance is futile. Your Father is only a man. He cannot be expected to do anything different but be a man. However, Yah is not a man. His mind is not like ours. His ways are not like ours. Everything that happens is Yah's will. Who are you to change the events of that night? What did the Father put into motion with your father's action that night? He paused, waiting for an answer. But I had no answer. How could I know how Yah worked? I shook my head. It is vanity to question events that have already happened. Can you go back and change them? And if you could, would it be wise to interfere with what the Father has done? How dare men assume such wicked thoughts? It is important, as a warrior of Yah, that you learn to see what is and not what could have been. Illusions, emotions, all luxuries we cannot afford at this hour, son. There's no time for you to get lost in your feelings. Instead, worship the Father, because no matter what almost happened, He did not allow it to happen. So rather than look at the power of man, look at the power of Yah. You have only a few short years to learn how to see through this illusion called the world. You have only a few short years to learn how to quiet your emotions when it is time to see what is in front of you. Surely you know that emotions causes one to see situations exactly as the spirit that causes the emotions wants them to see it, which is why every spirit must be tested. And at last, son, you have only a few short years to learn how to test the spirits. Why? What happens in a few short years? He looked out at the water and shook his head. The winds are coming. I can feel the weather changing. I don't know where we all will be left standing when they blow. But I do know this is the time to prepare, because they are coming. And with that, he turned and disappeared in the darkness, just as quickly as he had appeared. You see, the whole time I thought I was so smart, light years ahead of my competition, when the whole time my wife had been playing me. Each door that I opened into the abyss was because she had subtly led me to be there, until I found myself standing there on that cliff with my infant son in my hand, handing him over to a being that was so abominable that my mind fractured. It was there that night that I realized I was sinking fast into quicksand. I couldn't breathe, Stormy. I tried to take my son and run, but it was too late. The deed had been done. It was that night that I began to look for another way. It was that night I unknowingly began to look for Yah. Senior put his head in his hands and began to weep. We sat at the kitchen table, he and I. But I was so mad at him that I could not offer comfort. I could only listen, praying that the Father hold my tongue. I wanted to yell at him. How could you have been so stupid? Was fame and fortune really worth the life of your child? But I didn't. I just listened. When I first came into this truth, I would take Solomon and study with him, bring him to the gym. But as soon as my wife got wind of it, she shut it down. I tried to file for custody of him and my daughter in our divorce, but then she threatened to tell him about that night, about the sacrifice. She said if I didn't stay away from him, she would. He hit his head over and over again with his fists. Still, y'all, I didn't feel any sympathy. I was such a coward. I didn't want him to know what I had done, so I stayed away. I stood then, because I had heard enough. My being was in turmoil. I needed to go to Solomon. Senior, I held up my hand. I just wanted his words to stop. I can't have this conversation with you right now. I have to find Solomon. He dried his eyes. Right, yeah, let's do that. No, not you. No, Senior. I'll go by myself. He shook his head. I know you're mad at me, but I can't let you go out there alone. I'll go to the gym and get someone there to take me. I didn't wait for his answer. I just grabbed my phone and my coat and I left. After Solomon and his mother left tonight, Senior had called some man he simply referred to as the cleaner. 10 minutes later, a man in a waiter uniform wheeled in a food cart. Senior helped him load both of the bodies into it, and the man left. Then Senior got on his phone and called Mouse. He said something to him about needing to erase the restaurant video footage as well as the video footage in the neighboring buildings. 30 seconds later, everything went black. Senior took my elbow and quickly led me out of the restaurant, but instead of leaving out the main entrance, we left through the service entrance. I was amazed to see the lights were not only out in the grand building we were in, but also in the neighboring ones, as well as the street lights. The few downtown blocks had been thrown into complete chaos. Quickly, we walked through the crowds and into a black Charger. Senior opened the back door and we quickly got in. Adam was driving. "Shalom, Ox," Senior said. "Shalom, bruh. What happened?" As Senior told him about it, I tried to call Solomon. No answer. I was so worried. Why had I hesitated? He's my husband. I should have been with him. Even if his mother does give me the chills and make me feel ill, I should have been with him. Now he was out there, someone trying to deal with this hurt with only her venom to comfort him. I made it to the gym and I tried to open the doors. They were locked. I banged on the door. No answer. I knocked again, but I didn't want to waste any more time. I would start my search with the hotel that we checked into. When nobody came to the door, I looked up and was thrilled to see a bus coming my way. Hey, I'm from Chicago. I knew how to travel on the bus. Quickly, I made my way to the bus stop. I didn't realize how cold it was until I felt the heat come from the open doors of the CTA. I stepped on and the doors closed behind me. Too late, I realized my mistake. I had no money. I stood there checking my pockets, but I was looking for something I knew I didn't have. The bus driver smiled. "A pretty lady like yourself can ride my bus for free. Plus, it's Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas." I frowned at him. "It's Christmas?" I asked. With all that had been going on, I had not even noticed. "Yes, beautiful. What are you asking Santa for?" I shook my head. "Not a thing. I don't want nothing for Satan." Then I turned and made my way to my seat. Goodness, I didn't know it was Christmas. I really hated being out on the streets during such a dark night. I grabbed my phone and tried Solomon again. I stood outside my father's door. I really didn't want to have this conversation with him right now. But I needed Stormy. I needed to feel her soft fingers rubbing through my beard. I needed to lay my head against her chest and listen to her heartbeat. I needed her comfort. I should have never left her. I opened the door. My dad sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. When I entered, he lifted it and stood. "Son," he began, but I held up my hand, cutting him off. I really didn't want to hear anything he had to say. I just came to say my piece and collect my wife. If Stormy wanted to stay around here, then I would buy us a house. But we wasn't staying another night in this one. Look, I just come to tell you not to worry about me walking away from this truth. Just 'cause you're a liar don't mean what I have learned is. I've come too far to turn back now. Now that I know what Yah's voice sounds like, I can no longer ignore it. You your own man. You got to pay for your own sins. I just came to get Stormy, and we're gonna be on our way. Oh, and don't worry about me leaving the fellowship either. It's where I belong, and it's where I'll stay." Tears came to my father's eyes, but I didn't care to see them. I turned and took the stairs two at a time. "Stormy," I called up. Wait, son. Stormy's not with you?" My father's question caused my world to tilt on its axis. I turned to look down at him. "What do you mean, is she with me?" "She left here about 2 hours ago. She said she was going to find you." "What?" I ran back down the stairs. "And you let her go, man?" "She said she was going to the lion's den." I didn't wait to hear another thing. I was out the door. I walked out of the hotel at a complete loss at what to do next. The clerk said that Solomon had not checked back in. He said the hotel was completely booked with everyone that was in town for Christmas. I took out my phone and I tried to call him again. Dad, it was dead. My battery was dead. I pulled my cape more securely around me. I needed somewhere to charge my phone. Stormy, is that you? Now, how did I know I would bump into you here? Goodness, that voice. I looked up to see Margaret walking out of the hotel. A bellboy walking behind her with 3 huge pieces of luggage. What are you doing here? She asked. A black limo pulled up in front of us. A big bald-headed man stepped out of it. He was dressed in all black, from his shoes to his leather gloves, except for a silver cross that dangled from his ear. He smiled at me, and ice chips shot up my spine. I shivered, stepping back away from him. But Margaret stood behind me, so close, too close. I jumped. I was looking for Solomon, I told her. Honey, Solomon is on his way to the airport. I'm going to meet him. We're taking the plane back to Georgia together. You're more than welcome to ride with me. I know you want to try and stop him and talk him into staying here with you. All right, here I was at the crossroads again. Something in me told me not to do it, but I felt so bad for not being there for him the first time. Still, this woman was so demonic. I'd be a fool to trust her. Preacher had told me never to ignore the voice of wisdom, and wisdom was telling me not to get in the car with her. I shook my head. No, that's okay. I'll take a taxi, I told her. No, dear, she smiled at me. You won't. I felt a prick on my arm. I looked back just in time to see that the big bald head guy had just stuck me with some kind of needle. I opened my mouth to ask him what it was, but my world faded to black, and I no longer cared.